Hey there everybody, it's markcrilley. I'm back with another video. Today I'm going to continue looking through my old sketchbooks from Taiwan. When I was an English teacher in Taiwan years ago, I kept a sketchbook with me almost all the time and was doing little drawings like this one. I thought you'd enjoy having a closer look at this drawing of two old men playing, not chess, but I think it's sort of a Chinese board game. I should look up and see what it was. It looks like it uses little square pieces. Any of you who are able to recognize this from viewing it. In those days I probably would have been able to say what it was, but I have since forgotten. I did a lot of drawings at this time of people that I saw, you know, sort of people watching type sketches. And this one, I wonder if it's accurate to something I saw. I don't believe someone would have held that pose for so long, so I might have been drawing kind of my memory of something I saw. So here's another one with really quite minimal line work, but I was sort of fond of how this little area up here turned out. There was a child that was kind of playing around near a fountain. I think she might have been filling a bottle with water, and every time she ran over to fill the bottle, I would go ahead and do a little drawing, and then I think she would run back, and the kids over here were doing something, maybe pouring water onto a bug or something. Who knows what they were doing. But I sort of liked the almost narrative quality of all these sketches when you put them together. Here's a sketch that's a little more substantial, and I believe I was able to sit and draw this woman who was working using some kind of a machine. You know, Taiwan in those days had a fair amount of, I guess you'd call it light industry, where someone had some kind of machine almost in their own garage, and they were making little metal parts that would eventually be used for something, you know, more advanced in a bigger factory or that kind of a thing. But yeah, she sat there, and I just did a little sketch of her pose and her surroundings. Fond memories of Taiwan. You know, just walking down the street, you could happen upon scenes like this because so much of it was sort of open to view. If you know what I mean. So kind of a sketchbook lover's paradise, really. Speaking of interesting things you could see out on the road in Taiwan in those days, and I imagine today if you get out into the countryside, chickens. I happened to be in a place where they were roaming free. And did a little drawing. Sort of enjoyed drawing the spaces between the bars of the cage there. I was kind of pleased with how that turned out. And then up here, for those of you who know Chinese architecture, I think I was trying to catch one of these classic Chinese doorways where they have the pieces of paper on the sides and on the top. Always a big fan of Chinese architecture, both, you know, the impressive temples and just sort of humble little houses that you might discover in the back streets. And here's another one of those scenes that I kind of happened upon, leaving a lot of it blank, you know, not going so much for the details, but I thought you would enjoy seeing a certain feline friend that was part of that scene, and managed to capture that one before she trotted off in some other direction. She or he? I don't know for sure. Anyway, it was a cat. Here's one of the better ones that I did that would fall into this category of people watching. I must have been waiting for a bus or a train or something, and saw this woman and these kids, and eventually this one child fell asleep. I was always pleased with how that one turned out. I think I got the anatomy more or less right, which is not always the case when you're drawing things on the fly. But I highly advise, you know, if you want to get better at drawing people, carry a sketchbook around with you and do as I did back in those days in Taiwan. Just draw people as you see them, wherever you happen to see them. Here's another one, people watching time again, but this was, I think, another example of the anatomy gods smiling on me. And more or less, yeah, got a good drawing of this young woman's face. I think she was watching television. And again, it's a challenge because people are constantly moving. and for you to get a good drawing like this done, there will be probably more failures than successes until you get really, really good at it, which I don't know if I can say I ever did, but every once in a while I would manage to have a success. Now this one kind of has a story behind it. This was this area that I discovered outside of the town where I lived, and it was all rice fields, and there was this road going right through the middle of the rice fields, and I used to hop on my bike and ride along, and there was this one really quite impressive tree out in the middle of it all that someone had wisely left standing. And I always enjoyed going out there. It just sort of brought me a feeling of peace. There was something just visually remarkable about this location. Almost reminds me of something you might see in a Miyazaki film. You know, just rice fields on all sides, and then there in the middle of it all, this one big old tree that seems like it had been there for ages. And yeah, I used to go there again and again. Anytime I was feeling down or just needed to kind of clear my head, I would hop on my bike and ride out to this location. Here's another one that involved children. I can't remember exactly what was going on here, but there was some point where the kids had access to a microphone. And they were, as all children do when they get hold of a microphone, they were just having fun. Shouting into it and singing and who knows what else. But again, I liked this one. It has a little bit of a storybook feeling of almost actions in sequence. And yeah, for whatever reason, I was very focused on doing these kinds of drawings at that time. Maybe I can do a video about this, you know, drawing people out in the real world. Let me know if you'd like to see that. And as we reach the end of this one sketchbook, I have 3 in a row that I think I can just show you, you know, flipping the page. This one a good example of one of the architecture sketches. As I said, I was a big fan of the Chinese architecture, and then sometimes trying to capture the Chinese calligraphy on the signs, you know, above different shops and so forth. And trying to create a kind of a composition, you know, not drawing everything that I saw, but sort of leaving certain areas blank so as to allow your eye to flow through the image. And then next page. Back to the birds in cages motif. Can't quite remember where this was, but maybe outside of a pet shop, I'm going to guess. But I thought that one turned out nicely enough. A little shaky in the line work. This one has more of the cross hatching going on there. Look like shoes, I think, on display. Not necessarily related directly to Taiwan. Let me refocus so that we can flip to the final page. I think this is it. You know, the last page in the book. This one here maybe not so successful in terms of the anatomy. Young woman reading something, and yeah, don't think I quite got the structure of the head or the face right there. So there you go, guys. Not every one of these things that I did was a big success, but I wanted you to see both the good and the bad of these sketches that I did. And I have another book, not a complete book, but like maybe half a book of more sketches from my Taiwan days. And I will continue with that, you know, after a couple more months. We'll continue our journey through my old sketchbooks. But for now, I think it's time for me to wind down this video. I want to thank you all for watching it. I really hope you enjoyed it. And I'll be back with another one real soon.